famous person to give a talk for us tonight. He's a very famous motivational speaker. He was educated in Australia, got a lot of achievement, and he works a lot with teenagers and adults and also the education industry. So can we give a hand to Khunkhao สิทธิเสน เขจรบุตร
Right. Good evening, everyone. I'm very honored to be here, and ladies and gentlemen. Right. So this is your surprise to post this evening. I will talk about the things that I love most, which is brains. Right? I'm a zombie, if you like. I love brains. Study about brains, and I'm obsessed about brains. Now, today, this evening, we are at Tiaga, right? So what we'll be focusing on is, of course, the teenagers' brains. Like cope with them, right? With peace, right? I actually would not like to use the word cope, because it implies that teenagers is something to be fixed and they're problematic and all that. They're not. They're very powerful. Their brains are more powerful than normal people's brain. And you might ask, how much more powerful and what do I mean by powerful? We'll see in a minute. So the first thing about teenagers' brains is this: their brains are not fully developed yet. Now, many people do not know this, right? Who here can answer me? At which age, right? On average, our brains will be fully developed.
25.
Give her a big hand, please. Is there any reward around here? I'll give you one, pluck a flower from here. Very nice, very nice, very good. 25. Good questions. Oh, before I, answer that, I would like to share with you as well that I come here, of course, not as a teacher or anyone who would just share my knowledge in one-way communication. I would like it to be two-way communications. So, if you have any questions or discussions or even something you want to argue with me, right? Like, I don't agree with that. I have a teenage boys and, they're just fine and they love me and all that. Yeah, please do, right? Because I want it to be fun and it's entertaining, right? So, with your questions, are boys and girls the same? Right, so normally, right, it's the same, right? 25, both boys and girls. But the difference is this: most people do not know that it's just an average. Some, of course, we see many people who are already 70, but they're still like teenagers, right? We might have some in here. Feel free to look around and you'll be like, yeah, that's the one, right? Yes. Kun Sai Jai, you all know her, right? Kun Sai Jai, what is your age right now? No. Come on, be proud of your wisdom. Please. 74. Give her a big hand, right? And look at her, still bright and still like a teenager, right? Right, and of course, some of us are only 20, but we already reached adulthood, right? Some of the teenagers are very bright and very mature. So what's going on there, right? Why is it that we developed differently, although we have the same or more or less the same brains, the same kind of brains, right? It's because of this thing called myelination, right? You might ask, what is that strange word? Myelination. It's just, let's say, a fat wrapping around the neuron, right? That's the neuron, right? That's not a mutated worm or something. That's the neuron, right? We all have it, right? In our brain, we have around 100 billion neuronal cells, right? Which is, fascinating. I love it, right? But each one of them look something like this, right? A cartoonish version of our neuron. Now, the thing is that the teenager's brain, they do not have this myelin sheath, right? They do not have myelin sheath. Now you might wonder, what is myelin sheath for and why teenagers do not have it? Who can answer me? What is myelin sheath for and
To make a decision.
Make a decision. That's close. That's close. It has to do with the speed of communication between neurons, right? Once the myelination is there, then the signal can jump like this. Alright? Normally the signal from a neuron must travel like let's say a truck loaded with 30 pigs or something. It's very slow, like right? But then once the myelination is there, then the signal can skip like right? Very fast. Now the myelination in teenagers' brains are not yet fully developed. For example, in their frontal lobe, which is, don't be afraid of this, right? You might be like, oh, too much technical terms and all that. All will come into light, right? You understand all of this, trust me, right? Frontal lobe. Frontal lobe is the frontal part of your brain. Now, what it does is this. Frontal lobe is the executive function of your brain. It has to do with decision making. It has to do with, let's say, controlling your impulse, planning and all that, all the things that teenagers do not do very well. Can you see now? In the frontal lobe of teenagers, they do not yet have myelin sheath. That is why when you ask them, all right, do you want to go for drinks tonight, or do you want to study at home and read textbook? They'll be like, actually I should read textbook, but and then the myelination is not there, so they're like, but party time. So they go to party, although they know what is right? But adults supposedly they must have better sense of control. They should have better sense of control, but that's not always the case, as we already discussed, right? It depends on which brain, right? Now, the thing is, with the myelination, it will only be finished at around 25. That's why we control ourselves, much better after 25 and after 30 and all that. Now, you might ask, why am I talking about this? Why am I, telling you about teenage brains? I want you to understand them. Because I passed the teenage years, as you can see from my young face, I already passed it around 5 or 6 years, right? So when I teach teenagers, all of them, right, I feel sorry for them because all of them came to me and be like, my teacher did not understand me. My mother, my father, my granddad, or even, maybe someone from my, tuition center, like Tiaga or whatever, right? They do not understand me. I want this and I want that. And how often do you hear teenagers say this? No one understands me. How often do you hear that? Right? So I just want you to understand them, right? Because I was like them for like 5 years ago, and you probably were like them for like, I don't know, depends on who, right? Some were like 5 years, some were like 40 years ago, but that, never mind, right? Never mind, right? Right. So once you understand that they are not as good as controlling impulses as you do, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is even more important. The second thing is about this chemical called dopamine, right? Now, what is it for? Dopamine is for reward. For example, I'm sure that 3 hours ago you thought about this party, didn't you? You thought, oh, good food, free food or whatever, right? I even thought about it. I was like, all right, I must come here and have some, free good food from Westin or whatever. Then once that food came into, you put that food into your mouth, dopamine was released. Right? It's just like boom, and then you felt happy, like, wow, this sandwich, this pizza tastes so good, right? So dopamine came out and makes you love food and makes you feel rewarded. That's the role of dopamine. People without dopamine, they do not want to leave. They will just sit there and with saliva dripping and just like, I don't want to do anything anymore. So that's the good thing about dopamine. But there is a curse as well. Teenagers have much more dopamine than adults and than any other age. That is why reward for them is the most important thing in the world. They will go through punishment, they will go through all the rules and regulations and everything to get a reward. Now if that reward is to have a kiss with their lovers across the town, they'll jump off of the school and do it. You understand this? You see this? Whereas for adults, right, it's not as bad, right? Okay, maybe you want to go across the town and kiss someone. You think about it and you're like, oh my god, like, I have to drive there and I have to pay for the petrol and I have to better stay home, right? But then for teenagers, it's not like that. For teenagers, they don't care. They're like reward, right? Like everything for my dopamine. And just go, right? Jump off to school. They even steal someone's money, right? I heard this all the time. Teenagers who are addicted to drugs, and this is very sad. When they're addicted to drugs, they would even steal their parents' money just for the drugs, right? Whereas for adults, we have more control. We, right? We have more control, right? And we can, let's say, put the reward after and put the punishment first. For teenagers, it's not like that. Reward always comes first. And even worse is this theory. Hang on, I will just pass all through this. This theory about forbidden fruit, right? Now, I'll tell you a Christian story, right? I love every religion, so I do not just say I only take value from the stories of each religion. Now, there's a story, a moral from the story of Adam and Eve. Do you know that? Now, when Adam and Eve they were there and standing near the apple tree. The story that I read went like this. Actually, Adam and Eve did not want to pluck the apple from the tree. Only after God said that apple was forbidden. Then they're like, reward! They're like, I must do it. This is very tempting. It's like teenagers, right? You put a magazine or anything on the table and you just put it there. Teenagers will be like, all right, whatever, magazine. You put it there and you're like, do not read that. By all means necessary, leave it alone, do not open a page. You'll be like, yeah, right away. Like after you do not look, they'll be like, holy crap, what is in there? What is in there? And they'll do it, right? That's the forbidden fruit theory, right? The fact that teenagers, when they have challenges, anything that challenge their capacity or their ability, the rubber duck will just, explode out, right? You just boom, jump up and bounce even higher. Teenagers is like that. The more you suppress them, the more you said no, the more you said don't do it, then they'll feel an urge to just break your challenge and just go right ahead and just do what you prohibit them to do, right? So how do you deal with this? Very easily. You give them wisdom, but you give them freedom as well. Right? So, for example, I was raised, that's my mom right there, right? She's just there. When she raised me, right, she never said to me, right, do not ever do this, do not ever do that. When you go abroad, I studied in Australia, New Zealand, Washington DC, and I went to London as well, right? So I love going abroad. Now, going to places, right, many tempting things to do indeed, right? Now, of course I did some, right? If I didn't do anything, then I would waste teenage years, right? Teenage years are very valuable for exploring. But why was it that I didn't go all the way and just, become addicted to drugs and all that? Because my mom always said this to me. You have a choice, son, you have a choice. You can do it, but here's the consequence. You can, if you do drugs, here's what will happen to you. If you drink, if you smoke, here's what will happen to you. But this is your life. You can if you want. I do not want you to do it, but you are my son and I respect your choice. I almost cried when I hear that. I was like, she gave me so much respect, so what should I do? I should pay her back the respect. I should respect myself as well, and respect the fact that she gave me the power to decide my life, right? So did I try it? Of course, right? I tried it. Why not, right? That's teenagers right there. I was like, all right, here we go, all right. But then, I was like, right, this was not, it's just like what my mom said. It didn't give me lasting satisfaction or, lasting happiness and all that. So when I tried it and it didn't work, I was like, all right, well, better stop and, do my work and study and write and give a speech or whatever, right, that I love. So that's how I suggest or I invite you to deal with teenagers, right? They are very, very, very smart. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. Look at Bill Gates or Steve Jobs when they were young, right? They invented things that changed the world. These are all done by teenagers with not fully developed brains, right? So they're very powerful, as I said. But the more powerful something is, the more wisdom we need to have in order to deal with it. Teenagers are powerful. So I give the question or the quest back to you. How do you deal with this powerful thing, with these powerful creatures, with wisdom, so that they can go on and change the world as we know it, to be a better place and to be some place that we can proud of, and we can proudly say that it is us who give them the power of choice to decide to create a better world, and they choose that better choice that we give them. Thank you. Everyone is stunned because I talk too fast. All right.
Talk about teenagers' sleep patterns. They got different sleep patterns to adults.
Excellent question. Now I must tell you first that I'm not an expert in teenagers' sleep patterns at all. I do not know in depth. But I just recently watched a video by the channel called D News, right? It's a YouTube channel, very good channel. And it's a channel that, let's say, they did research, right, on teenagers' brains and behavior and all that. And they found out that actually teenagers need sleep more than adults. Adults need 7 to 8, but teenagers need 10, right? And almost all teenagers in the world, including America and all that, are sleep deprived, right? Which is very sad. Now, why is it that teenagers' brain need more sleep than adults? It's because their brains, as we discussed just now, are still developing. That's why they need more sleep, need more rest to, become fully grown and all that. Now, as for the pattern, I do not know which, the alpha state or the theta or the delta stage comes first or later. I do not know that. But I know something that might be of use to you, which is the fact that give them time to rest as well. Because we always misunderstood, right? And we said that, teenagers need to study, they need to work hard, they need to prepare for their future. But actually what they need is to become a fully functioning human being, right? But without, proper sleep and enough time to rest, they will not have that chance. So, as precise as I can be, I don't know their precise sleep pattern, but I do know that they need more sleep, not all day long, of course, but they need more sleep, they need more rest, so that their energy can be used in a beneficial way when they are awake.
Are Thai teenager any different?
Thai teenager needs 15 hours of sleep. No, no. From my experience, we humans, right, share, let's say, similarity more than differences, right? No matter where teenagers are, or no matter where the ethnicity of the teenager is, no matter what it is, teenagers want the same thing. They want to explore. And we did not dive into that, we didn't even dive into that, but teenagers wanted to explore. Teenagers want to belong. That's why groups and gangs and friends are very important for them. They are programmed or are wired to seek for a place or a group to belong to. And if they can't find a group of people, they'll find a group of things, drugs, games, whatever, right? Computer, internet, and all that. So that's the second thing about teenagers. Now the third thing I see is that this is with all teenagers. I used to work with teenagers from other countries and teenagers in Thailand. They all want the same thing. Want to explore. They want to belong to a group and all that. And also when people prohibit them from doing something, teenagers of any country will be like, that's the thing I have to do, right? So we have similarities much more than differences. So to answer your question, I would say that no. All teenagers in the world, the sleep that they need are the same.
At the moment, I would like to invite Kun Nitiwat to hand a present from our associate.